We're learning the laws of the red heifer. The laws of the red heifer are the laws that bring the purity to an individual who has become impure through contact with a human corpse. We are now in the 5th chapter of these laws. Very unique laws. They're in the Parshas Chukas in the book of Numbers. The beginning of that of the Parshas Chukas, and this is a statutory law that's beyond logic. Yeah, it's beyond logic. We see in many of the details in the law. Let's get into it. So, in the first halacha, all those involved in offering the red heifer from the beginning to the end become impure. They themselves become impure. Imagine you're purifying someone else, and in the process, you become impure. Right? Doesn't sound rational. Well, it's not. It's beyond rationality, even though we can give some understanding to it, to some of these things. But in any case, what we learn here is the law itself, not the rationale behind it for the most part. The rationale behind it is based on this is what the verses in the Torah are teaching us, and therefore we come up with a biblical law based on the verses in the Torah, what the inference and implication of words and context, and also through different principles and how we can equate things and different methodologies, right? All right. So whoever's involved in the offering, from the beginning to the end, become impure themselves and impart impurity to their garments as long as they are involved in its being offered. So their garments also become impure. Means they just need to go to the mikvah, like the individual. Well, this concept is derived as follows. With regard to the one who slaughters the heifer, the one who casts the cedar wood into its belly, it says the priest shall launder his clothes and wash his flesh. So in other words, the priest, the kohen, just did this process of, that's part of the involvement to make the red heifer. And the verse clearly says, launder his clothes, which means it goes to the ritual bath of, to be spiritually cleaned, and wash his flesh, meaning also the mikvah. And with regard to one who burns it, it says the one who burns it shall launder his clothes, and the one who gathers the ashes of the heifer shall launder. So clearly it says these verses teach that those involved in offering it from the beginning until the end impart impurity to their clothes, must immerse themselves and wait for nightfall to regain purity. So the impurity that the person has is only for the day, right? So they go to the mikveh, as opposed to someone who came in contact with a human corpse, it's for 7 days, the impurity. But here they would immerse themselves, clothing, and then they regain purity. That's according to scriptural law. One who guards the heifer at the time it is being offered imparts impurity to his garments. According to rabbinic law, there's a degree lesson. He moves one of its limbs. And then I think then he would become biblically impure. So therefore, everyone who guards the heifer becomes spiritually impure and imparts impurity to his garments. Rabbinic law, though. Whenever the Torah states with regard to impurity, one shall launder his clothes, it does not come merely to teach the clothes on the person are impure. Instead, it teaches that every garment or implement that this impure person will touch while he is still in contact with the object that imparted impurity to him become impure. Right. So interesting, right? So it doesn't mean just the clothes that are on him, but if he touches something else while he's in contact with the object, they impart impurity to that clothing too. after he separates himself from the object that imparted impurity to him, he does not impart impurity to garments or to other objects. So what is implied? Let's see. Explains. A person who carries an animal carcass imparts impurity to clothes he is wearing or to any implement he touches as long as he is carrying it. They are considered as a first degree derivative of impurity, right? So he's carrying an animal carcass here, we're talking about, right? Now his clothing or anything, other clothing that he would touch or an implement while he's carrying the carcass of it, right? A dead animal. So they become impure, first degree derivative impurity. Similarly, the one who carries an animal carcass is considered as impure to first degree. If he sees contact with the object and imparted ritual impurity, casting away the animal carcass, he remains impure to the first degree as before. If, however, he touches an implement or garment, he does not impart impurity to it. For a derivative of a ritual impurity does not impart impurity to implements, as we explained at the beginning of this text. Similar laws apply in all types of impurity analogous to the imparted by an animal carcass. Okay, so that's with an animal carcass. Now, so now taking that example, so similar with regard to that and those involved, the offering of the red heifer. If they touch a garment or an implement at the time of they are slaughtering or burning the red heifer, it becomes impure. After such an individual cease the task involved with it, similar to not carrying the carcass of an animal, right? That would be, right? However, even though he is not yet immersed, he does not impart impurity to an implement that he touches because he is merely a derivative of the impurity, right? So he doesn't impart it to an implement, meaning to a vessel, right? The red heifer itself does not impart impurity to a person or implements that touch it. It is only those involved in the offering who become impure and must immerse themselves and impart impurity to their garments as long as they are involved in its offering. Right. So that's pretty pretty unique kind of law. Right. So it's only those who are involved are becoming impure. As opposed to, if carrying an animal carcass, it doesn't matter who it is, right? It's because the animal carcass itself is impure. Here it's your involvement in the process that's making you impure, not inherently about the red heifer itself, right? I don't recall, but what, what is this kind of like saying? You're involved in bringing purity to others. You're very self-aware of that. That itself is impure. Right? That's self-awareness. Right? That itself is impure. As, you know, uh, which, meaning there's a sense of ego there, right? And what's the ego over here? You're helping another. Well, I really got to help. I have to really help. Which reminds me, um, reminds me of a story many years ago in the Lubavitch Yeshiva. So I was praying I don't know, it was the evening service or whatever it was, whichever service, and there was something on the wall that had was a it was very good for a class that I was going to give soon, planning to give a class, and it had a lot of different halachic, Jewish law teachings there that would be good for my class. So I went over to the gabbai one who runs the synagogue. I mean, it's the spiritual caretaker, if you will, also physical. And I said to him in Yiddish, ich darf haben them to machen a copy. I need to take this to make a copy. So he looks at me and says, Wer bist du, as ich darf? Who are you that I need?
Who are you with us?
Who are you, he says to me, that I need? In Yiddish, the word ich is I, and my kids make fun of me today, but back in the day, I used to say ich is ichi, because it's all about ich, it's all about me, right? It's all about me. And even though here I wanted for something good, it was about a class I was going to give, and I wanted to make a copy for that so I could use it for my class to give a better class. So in Yiddish, the way older people, more mature people would speak, they wouldn't say ich darf, I need. They say min darf, it's needed. Min darf. That's how they would speak. I don't know if today anybody does that anymore. Huh? Because it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about the cause. It's about the matter at hand. It's not about me and me fulfilling this matter, right? So I'm just explaining that over here, an understanding that we can have of the idea of why is it that everybody that's involved in making the red heifer, which is bringing purity to people that came in contact with a human corpse, right? So why they become impure? It's like a strange thing, right? They should be very pure people because, they're doing such a lofty thing to bring purity to the people. So exactly that reason, for the very reason itself. I'm bringing purity to the people. Oh, right. In other words, that the fact that you are doing something to bring purity to another, and you're very self-aware of that it's as opposed to being aware of the matter at hand, right? Of the importance of what you're doing, not at the importance of I'm doing. That's a very nuanced idea. That's a very, lofty idea. Very lofty idea. All right. Number 3. When does the above apply when the red heifer was burnt as prescribed? Did everything properly. If, however, it was disqualified, those involved in offering it are pure because through them it became disqualified, right? Whether it was through them, but it happened on their watch, so to speak, right? So they're not going to get haughty about this or feel no haughtiness here. This is not about haughtiness. It's just about like being aware, right? If a disqualifying factor occurred during its slaughter, it does not cause the person's garment to become impure. If a disqualifying factor occurs during the sprinkling of its blood, those who are involved with its offering before it was disqualified impart impurity to their garments. Those involved after disqualification do not impart purity to their garments. Oh, there's a distinction here. I don't know why. Interesting.
Yeah, because after disqualified, they are pure.
Huh?
They are pure after the disqualification. They remain pure, so they cannot impart impurity.
Yeah, but why that distinction? Okay, fine. I understand. Okay. When a collection of its ashes was completed, anyone who's involved with it, the division of the ashes or the setting them aside for safekeeping or who touches it is pure. So now, right, we're talking about until the ashes were made, right? Now that it's all ashes, so whoever's involved, they are pure. Right. These principles do not apply to the red heifer alone, but also to the sin offerings of bulls and goats that are burnt. One who burns them imparts impurity to their garments, while he's burning them until they are reduced to ashes. For behold, with regard to the bull and the goat burnt on Yom Kippur, it says, the one who burns them shall launder his clothes. According to your tradition, it was taught that the general rule applying to those who burn sacrificial offerings, teaching that they impart impurity to their garments until the offerings are reduced to ashes. And then from that point on, they don't. When does the above apply? When no disqualifying factor occurred and they are burnt in an ash heap as prescribed. If, however, they are disqualified in the temple courtyard, they are burned. They're like disqualified offerings, and the one who burns them is ritually pure, right? Similar to the red heifer. Same with the one who is involved in these offerings after they have been reduced to ashes does not impart impurity to his garments. Okay, so who is considered one who burns it? Right? Anyone who helps in burning it, for example, the one who turns over the meat, one who places wood upon it, one who fans the fire, one who stirs the coals so the fire will burn, and the like. In contrast, one who kindles the flame and one who builds the arrangement are pure. Wow. Okay. Why would that be? Good question. According to the oral tradition, it was taught that one who carries the bulls and the goats that are burnt to transport them to the ash heap to burn them is ritually impure and imparts impurity to the garments according to scriptural law, as long as they are involved in transporting them. To regain purity, he is required to immerse himself in the mikvah and wait until nightfall, like the one who sends the goat to Azazel on Yom Kippur. The latter imparts impurity to all the garments and all of the implements that he touches that are on him throughout the time he is involved in sending the goat to his destination. One who sends the goat to Azazel shall launder garments, as the verse says. Right, that's about Yom Kippur. From when do those who carry bulls and goats that are burnt impart impurity to their garments? When they take them out of the temple courtyard. From then on, if he carried them with poles and some of those carrying them left the walls of the temple courtyard and others did not depart, those who departed impart impurity to their garments. Those who did not yet depart do not impart impurity to their garments until they depart. Right? They might be taking them on, 4 poles, and so have 2 people leaving temple courtyard and 2 that are still there at one point, right? So there's a distinction to be made. They're not considered as one unit in that way. If they depart and then return to the temple courtyard and transfer carcasses to others, the others who carry them in temple courtyard are pure until they take them out, right? So it's not inherent about the animal, it's inherent to the people who are involved in the process. If a person was standing outside the courtyard and was pulling the poles, which carcasses were hanging from the courtyard, and were returned there, he's considered being impure of a doubtful status, since the sacrificial animal had already been taken out, and when pulling them was standing outside, right, in a place where he would become impure. When does a person who sends to go to Azazel impart impurity to his garments? From the time he departs Jerusalem until he pushes the goat off the cliff to Azazel. If he pushes it off the cliff, if he touches his implements garments, they are pure. Because he's no longer doing the divine service. So it's interesting. It's interesting to note, as in the divine service itself is where the impurity comes. After you've finished your divine service, then no, not. Which is a little kind of counterintuitive, because you think, you're doing the divine service, why should any impurity, any tuma come about? But, again, as we explained, it's like a concept, an idea. Okay, last halacha. When an entity, whether a person, an implement, food, or liquid touches the bodies of bulls and the goats that are burned, even after they have been taken out of the temple courtyard, everything is pure. Similarly, if they would touch the goat, right, because it's not that the animal is inherently impure, it's the one involved with this animal that is, the issue over here, right? So therefore, if this animal, if this, the bull or the goats, right? The goats are referring to Yom Kippur. The bull is about the red heifer. A red heifer, yeah. Similarly, if they would touch the goat sent to Azazel while it was being carried, there they would be pure. For these sacrificial animals impart impurity only to the one involved with carrying them. Right. And therefore they're not going to impart on any implement or any food. One who burns them shall launder his clothes. The one who touches, by contrast, is pure. Okay. Amazing. All right, folks. Thank you. Simon,
Sameach.
thank you. God bless you all.
Mayor,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.